Most men wake up every morning carrying a quiet weight they cannot explain. Their body moves, their routine continues, yet something underneath feels restless, irritated, heavy. They assume this is normal. They call it stress. They call it life. They accept discomfort as background noise and move on. That is the mistake. Feeling better every day is not about chasing pleasure, comfort, or constant happiness. Those pursuits weaken the mind. The reason most men feel mentally exhausted is not because life is hard, but because their mind is undisciplined. They react to everything. They fight battles that do not matter. They surrender control to emotion, habit, and noise. A disciplined man lives differently. He does not depend on motivation. He does not rely on mood. He does not wait for life to feel easy before standing firm. He trains his mind, daily, quietly, without drama. This training does not make him loud. It makes him stable. It does not make him soft. It makes him resilient. If you're listening to this, understand something clearly. Feeling better is not accidental. It is built through habits that harden the mind while calming it at the same time. Stoic habits, simple habits, dangerous habits for weak thinking. Modern culture lies to men about feeling better. It says relief comes from distraction, comfort, entertainment, and escape. It tells you to avoid discomfort, suppress difficult thoughts, and numb emotional tension. That path feels good briefly, then leaves you weaker. Stoicism exposes this illusion immediately. You do not feel worse because life is cruel. You feel worse because you resist reality. You argue with what already is. You complain internally about events outside your control. Every mental argument against reality drains energy. Marcus Aurelius wrote that men suffer not from events, but from their judgments about them. This is not poetic advice, it is mechanical truth. When you stop fighting what you cannot change, your mind regains stability. Most men spend their day leaking energy through pointless reactions, traffic, opinions, messages, memories, imagined futures. None of these deserve emotional investment, yet they consume attention constantly. The disciplined man cuts this leak. He conserves mental force. He does not waste emotion on what does not obey him. Feeling better is not adding something to your life. It is removing what poisons your mind daily. False urgency, unnecessary fear, self-created pressure. When these illusions fall away, calm emerges naturally. Strength follows. Stoicism does not promise happiness. It promises clarity. And clarity produces a steady form of well-being that does not depend on circumstances. Stoicism was never designed for comfort. It was forged in hardship, leadership, exile, war, and loss. Marcus Aurelius governed an empire under constant threat. Seneca lived surrounded by political danger and betrayal. Epictetus began life as a slave with no external power at all. Yet all three arrived at the same conclusion: control the mind, or the world will control you. They understood that peace is not found by changing events, but by mastering perception. They taught that discipline creates freedom, and emotional restraint creates strength. A man who governs his thoughts remains unshaken even when circumstances collapse. Stoicism does not deny emotion, it trains it. It does not suppress pain, it uses it. Every difficulty becomes material for growth rather than suffering. These philosophers wrote for men who carried responsibility, pressure, and isolation. Men who could not afford emotional fragility. Their advice remains relevant because human weakness has not changed. The habits you are about to hear are not motivational tricks. They are structural behaviors that rewire how the mind processes life. Applied daily, they create a calm baseline of strength that makes feeling better inevitable, regardless of external chaos. The first Stoic habit is mastering the first thoughts of the day. Weak men wake up and immediately surrender their mind to external input. Notifications, worries, imagined problems, unfinished conversations. The day begins in reaction mode. The disciplined man begins differently. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations as morning preparation. He reminded himself what kind of people he would meet and how he would respond. This was not pessimism. It was readiness. When you wake up, your mind is soft. Whatever you feed it becomes the tone of the day. If you allow anxiety, complaint, or distraction to enter first, you spend the rest of the day recovering. The Stoic habit is simple. Before engaging the world, you set your internal posture. You remind yourself of what is within your control and what is not. You accept difficulty in advance. You strip events of emotional surprise. This creates immediate stability. Problems lose their ability to shock you. Delays feel neutral. Resistance feels expected. Weak men wait to feel good before acting. Strong men act correctly until feeling follows. This habit does not require affirmation or excitement. It requires clarity. You wake up and tell yourself the truth. Today will include resistance. People will be difficult. Outcomes will be uncertain. None of that has authority over your behavior. This alone removes a massive amount of daily stress. The mind stops bracing emotionally. Calm becomes the default. The second Stoic habit is voluntary discomfort. Weak men structure their lives to avoid discomfort entirely. This creates fragility. When difficulty appears, they panic, complain, or collapse. Stoics did the opposite. Seneca intentionally practiced poverty, cold, hunger, and simplicity. Not because he enjoyed suffering, but because he refused to be afraid of it. Voluntary discomfort removes fear. When you choose discomfort, you reverse its power. Cold showers, physical exertion, delayed gratification, silence instead of stimulation. These practices train the nervous system to remain calm under stress. Feeling better does not come from comfort. It comes from confidence in your ability to endure. When you know you can tolerate discomfort, anxiety weakens. Fear loses authority. You stop negotiating with weakness. Modern men are overstimulated and undertrained. Their minds expect ease and panic at resistance. The disciplined man hardens himself intentionally so that life feels lighter by comparison. This habit also sharpens gratitude. When comfort is earned rather than assumed, it restores its value. Simple things feel sufficient again. Voluntary discomfort builds emotional armor without numbing feeling. You feel life more clearly, not less. Calm does not come from softness. It comes from resilience. A man who trains himself to endure will always feel better than one who hides from difficulty. The third Stoic habit is reducing unnecessary desire. Weak men believe feeling better comes from getting more. More success, more validation, more pleasure. This creates endless dissatisfaction. Epictetus taught that freedom comes not from gaining what you want, but from wanting less. Desire is a leash. The more you crave external outcomes, the more fragile you become. Stoicism does not kill ambition. It disciplines it. You still work, you still improve, but your emotional stability no longer depends on results. The disciplined man focuses on effort, not outcome. He invests fully in what he controls and releases attachment to what he does not. This eliminates constant internal pressure. Desire inflames emotion. Reduction cools it. When you stop needing things to happen a certain way to feel okay, peace stabilizes. Failure becomes instruction. Success becomes temporary. Neither shakes your core. Most stress comes from imagined futures and unmet expectations. Reduce expectations and stress dissolves. This habit feels uncomfortable at first because modern culture feeds desire constantly. But once desire loosens its grip, mental clarity returns. You stop chasing, you start choosing. Feeling better becomes sustainable because it is no longer dependent on external approval or circumstance. Calm becomes your default setting, not a reward. The fourth Stoic habit is controlling attention. Where attention goes, energy follows. Weak men allow their attention to be stolen all day. News, drama, opinions, negativity. They feel exhausted because their focus is fragmented. Stoics treated attention as sacred. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly warned himself to stay present and avoid mental wandering. He understood that distraction weakens discipline. The disciplined man decides what deserves his attention and rejects everything else. He does not engage with outrage. He does not feed resentment. He does not consume content that destabilizes him. This is not ignorance. It is strategy. Your mind is a battlefield. Every piece of information shapes perception. If you allow chaos in, chaos forms inside. By reducing unnecessary input, emotional stability increases immediately. Thoughts slow down. Clarity returns. This habit alone can change how you feel daily. Anxiety decreases. Irritation fades. Focus sharpens. Weak men feel overwhelmed because they allow everything access. Strong men are selective. Attention is currency. Spend it deliberately. When you protect your attention, you protect your peace. Feeling better is no longer something you chase. It becomes the natural result of disciplined focus. The fifth Stoic habit is nightly reflection. Seneca ended each day by reviewing his actions, thoughts, and reactions. Not with guilt, with honesty. Weak men avoid reflection because it threatens their ego. Strong men seek it because it strengthens their character. At the end of the day, you ask simple questions. Where did I lose control? Where did I respond well? What can improve tomorrow? This process prevents emotional buildup. Instead of carrying unresolved tension, you release it through understanding. Reflection turns mistakes into training. Without it, errors repeat unconsciously. With it, growth accelerates. This habit also reinforces self-trust. You prove to yourself that you are paying attention, that you are accountable, that you are evolving. The mind relaxes when it knows correction is coming. Anxiety often comes from ignored issues. Reflection resolves them. You sleep better. You wake clearer. This habit completes the daily cycle of discipline. Morning preparation, daily endurance, nightly correction. Over time, emotional stability compounds. Feeling better becomes predictable. Not because life improved, but because you did. These habits are simple. That is why most men ignore them. They prefer complexity, shortcuts, and distraction. The herd chases relief. The disciplined man builds strength. If you apply these habits, you will separate quietly. Your reactions will change. Your calm will unsettle others. Your presence will feel grounded. This path is not popular. It does not produce noise. It produces stability. Do not explain yourself. Do not seek validation. Discipline does not require witnesses. If you abandon these habits, weakness returns quickly. Comfort erodes resilience. Choose carefully. You are not here to feel good occasionally. You are here to become stable permanently. Stoic habits do not create excitement. They create command. They strip weakness and leave clarity. Apply them daily, without drama, without announcement. Over time, you will feel lighter, calmer, and harder to disturb. Not because life became easier, because you became stronger. This is the difference. Stand disciplined, stay silent, govern yourself,